Hi, I'm Elizabeth Elder
And I'm Emily Odette, and this is Behind the Niche.
with K Mag.
Hi everyone, my name's Anisha, and we are back with Behind the Niche with two very amazing women. They are a duo in photography, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Elder. I'm from LA. I'm a photographer here and, fantasy photographer here. And that's that.
And that's that. I'm Emily Odette. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I moved to LA about almost like 9 years ago, which is crazy. I'm a model. I'm a science agency model, and I'm also a producer and creative director. And I also do see modeling outside of my regular fashion modeling.
Amazing. So together, you guys both have this brand and like company called E&E Creative. I want to know, how did that officially come to be? Was there like a specific project, or moment that made you realize that you guys had something special together?
Um, I think when we did the Ferndale shoot, right? Was it not Ferndale?
Idlewild?
Idlewild, where we really like kicked it off because we had our like first shoot together. Emily and I first shoot together like a long time ago, just
Yeah,
in
like 7 years
this
ago.
very room. What?
Like 7 years ago, like 6 or 7 years ago.
6 or 7 years ago, and it was just like a very simple like pink backdrop, nothing crazy. And then I think a couple months later, right, I contacted you to do like some fairy shoot, and with Firefly, that's how we connected with Firefly Path. And then we did a third shoot with Firefly Path again. And that's when we were like, okay, we really need to work together, because Idlewild was like what really connected us all together. So
Amazing. Now, when I was going through your guys' social media, you guys really have like a really cool aesthetic. It's very ethereal, whimsical, and your shoots often feel like they're in another world. So, how do you describe what you do to people unfamiliar with like your fine art and ethereal photography?
I'm gonna let Emily start on this one.
I guess whenever I try to describe it to people, I always just use the same little tagline, like, "Oh yeah, we are a two woman-owned fine art fantasy production company," and people are like, "Cool, I don't understand what that means at all."
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, so it's like fairies, elves, that kind of stuff, like nerd things, but kind of amplified. Like, not that I'm trying to think of like how you would explain it. Like,
It's not
next
your
level up.
everyday.
Yeah. Yeah, more like cinematic world building rather than like it's not cosplay, it's not anything like that. It's more like moments and stills from a movie is kind of what we try to do.
But not like character centered, but like not a specific character.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a very interesting way to describe it. For you, Elizabeth, you've been shooting since 2014. So I wanted to know, like, since you started in like 2014, how has like photography changed for you? And how has it like evolved?
I think as like I'm overthinking myself. It's so trendy now. I think like during the pandemic is like when everyone kind of had that splash of creativity more. That's why I feel like it's fantasy photography is now like trending more. And so like you're starting to see a little bit more of other photographers being like, "Oh, I kind of want to dabble into that." It was a very small community. Like in 2013, 2014, like Emily Soto was like the fantasy photographer back in the day. And then you got Bella Kodak, which was like another fantasy photographer that was pretty big for that time period, especially in 2016. So like they were like the biggest inspiration of how I like was learning. I was still learning, like trying different styles, definitely trying their type of styles, but obviously it wasn't my style. And so approaching that, I feel like in 2020 was like the style, or 2021 was like I was happy with my aesthetic and style. And getting there was like my final form of, I'm proud of my style. So
Yeah, that's great. You also then transitioned onto TikTok, and TikTok has helped out a lot of, artists and creatives in the world. So I want to know, like, how has TikTok shaped your journey in photography now?
I find specific videos on TikTok that inspire me, but like I think you have to be like a video editor. I think everyone has to be these days to be a video editor. I think like gearing that as storytelling has been helpful for other people, being like, oh my God, I can dress like this. Oh my God. And then you're starting to see other people kind of like dressed like up like as fairies. And I feel like also being able to emulate that on TikTok, especially with our like short attention spans these days, I feel like it's definitely changed. And I feel like a lot of people have liked my work for that reason. It's just easy to showcase that in like 15-second reels or TikToks.
That's great. And I know for you, Emily, you've also been modeling for years, and now you're also doing more of like production and like art direction. So how has like your visions evolved since stepping behind the camera?
I think the main thing that has changed is I am all too aware of the logistics of everything, where I could have like an idea of something that I would love to execute, and then I'm immediately like, okay, you have to think about this realistically. So I think that has shifted things a lot, and that's made me be like, okay, I like that idea, but logistically it's just not going to work. So I need to adjust it. So I think that's the main shift that has happened. My ideas have become a little bit more grounded in terms of like, okay, how can I actually make this come to life in a more realistic way?
Now that you say that, I like totally relate with that in terms of like when I'm like writing or doing anything artistic, you always have like big ideas, but sometimes it can just be really hard to execute. So I love that you bring that up. I also have to mention, so you also worked with Sephora with a Beauty Blender campaign. What did it mean to you personally to be featured in that?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. That has actually been a secret dream of mine for years. It's been my goal in my professional modeling career to have a campaign up in Sephora. And I would always go in, and I've seen like over the years lots of my friends' faces in there, and it's always so exciting to go in and be like, oh my God, it's Wednesday. Oh my God, that girl too. Like, it's just so cool to see your friends win. And I was like, that would be really cool to come in here someday and see my face and have my family be like, oh my God, it's her face, we know her. So that was a really cool win from last year that I wasn't expecting. And to get someone texting me being like, hey, look, there's your face in Sephora. And I was like, cool. So that was like, yeah, that was a really nice win.
I love that. I mean, it's always great to celebrate your accomplishments, so I had to bring it up. For both of you, moving on a little bit, in terms of your like shoots, conceptual shoots require a lot of behind the scenes prep, from like styling to staging and editing. What's something that people don't see about the effort that goes into one shoot?
I think like our pre-planning stuff, obviously, like a lot goes on to it, like from the styling point and from like the set design point. I guess I all see that, but like the pre-planning of like the thought process that goes into it, right? What do you think about that, Emily?
Yeah, I mean, going off of what you just said, the things that we do beforehand, and like we're trying to show more of our like behind the scenes work just so people can see like we don't just show up and do a thing. Like this takes an incredible amount of planning, and it also takes a lot of trial and error. I think that's a big thing. We have tried things that don't work, and people never see them. They don't work. We have a lot of conversations where we'll spend weeks working on something, and we get to the point where we're like, this just isn't working. We're not feeling it. We're trying to like push this thing. We like the idea of it, but it's just not coming together. And then we scrap it. So we also spend so much time working on things that people will never see. And that's just all a part of the whole thing, really.
And then like also going back to like logistics where I'm like, I have this idea. What do you think? And you're like, yeah, but logistically, I don't know if we can make that happen because like that's a lot that's either over the budget or that's like, it's kind of crazy to try and do and accomplish in this much time, depending on the timeline we have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that's great to hear because, especially when you're like posting stuff on social media, people really only see 1% of everything that you do. So I'm glad that you mentioned that pre-planning part. Also, do you ever feel pressure to keep topping your work, and how do you stay creatively motivated?
Oh man. I think what's really great about having like a business partner that like loves to like travel and loves to like go out and camp is she likes to do a lot of research. Emily has to do a lot of research. Like we just did in Big Sur, we went to like the Calla Lily Valley. That was all Emily's pre-planning idea, and she was like, I think we should do a wheel, and like then we kind of like, all right, let's logistically figure this out. But like I think her bringing me out of my shell, because I don't travel a lot at all. I stay in my little like cave here. I think really helps inspire me to continue on. I feel like it's just so helpful to kind of get out, even though we are still in California, or like sometimes we'll travel a little bit out of state like we did in Washington, which was amazing. So inspiring, honestly. Even just like going outside of like your area and comfort zone is like something that can be very inspiring, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. Go ahead.
I think just on your first part of your question, yeah, there is like weird pressure to keep topping your work, especially when something is really well received and it's like, oh, that's so fulfilling. People really connect to that. And that's so cool because we felt so excited to share it, and people are like giving that excitement back, and it becomes this like community of people who all connect over this one thing. So I do feel like, yeah, there is this pressure to maintain that type of connection with people and to keep exciting people and keep putting out new things to push ourselves. And so, yeah, there definitely is that pressure. But I think Elizabeth, one of her strongest skills is she is just like effortlessly trying things over and over and over again to try to push herself and be like, I want to try this, and I want to try this. Oh, and I thought of this thing. And it's just like she will just go and put out all this stuff. And she's just like not afraid to try things. So I think that makes the whole process easier.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, especially I think it's important like trying things for yourself and not just for the sake of like people on social media is very important and one thing to like maintain. So I love that you guys mentioned that. Elizabeth, you're not only in charge of photography, but you also do set and styling. What part of that process challenges you the most?
So also Emily does help with the styling, the set design. I think she helps kind of organize it in a way. But I think what's really hard is color tone, like matching the colors to the idea. Like the Medieval Princesses shoot that we did was a color tone that we had to match with the idea, like the concept. What would be a complementary color like to this shoot? Would it look good with this? I think that's like a hard part is you have to think about it with the outfit. What is it going to look like with that? And I feel like that's a very challenging part of set design is like going about that. And I feel like we're getting better and better every time, but I feel like that's the challenge for me.
Yeah, this you guys can both answer because obviously you guys work on shoots together. How do you maintain that balance between control and experimenting when building out like a set or scene to shoot?
Hard. It's really hard. I mean, I think for me, I try to do as much of the logistical control part of it first so that kind of stuff is out of the way. So then when it comes to the time where we're like, okay, now we're going to shoot it, now we're going to try some stuff, it becomes that. We're trying things, We're experimenting. The hard, like, less brain stuff has kind of already been done. So then goal is for the actual shoot to be experimental.
Yeah. I mean, I love that as well. Also for you, Emily, you've modeled internationally. So I was wondering that experience of like modeling here in the US, but also internationally, how do you bring that as like a guide to like when you guys are doing shoots?
I would say it's really about the years that I've spent working with different photographers, working with different directors, and working with other models. And every model works really differently, and I've learned so much from working with other models, especially internationally. It was like such a cool experience to see people from all around the world and their personal experiences. And I think what I have used the most is finding ways to make sure the clients that we have feel comfortable and confident, because you can see it in a photo if someone is not comfortable, feeling a little like nervous, self-conscious, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've been modeling for 8 years and I still feel that way sometimes, but there are like tips and tricks to like get you out of that and get you into a more like playful, fun headspace where you're like, this doesn't have to be scary, it can just be fun. So I feel like that's really what I've taken away from it, is like encouraging people to play and have fun. And I feel like that really helps people.
Yeah, that's amazing. We've kind of been talking about this like collaborative process that you guys share on shoots. So I was wondering if you guys could like walk me through like a day by day of like, well, not maybe a day by day, but like a hypothetical of like what it looks like when you guys walk into a building with a concept and then like start working from scratch.
I think like sometimes Emily comes with an idea and then I come up with an idea. Like we'll both like come up, like kind of talk to each other amongst it. And then we have like our wonderful designer friend Firefly Path, which she's incredible, kind of helps bring the character together, whatever one we choose, whatever one we decide, or whatever we're feeling inspired, kind of makes it a cohesive look. And then we talk about logistics. Emily goes and does, Emily, do you want to talk about your logistic part of like the shoot, like in general? If, for example, like what we just did in Calla Lily Valley, like how much research goes into like what we do?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the complexity of the shoot, like for this example that Elizabeth is giving, when we do travel shoots, we're typically going places that we've never been before. So there is no real option to location scout unless we go early, and we're working on a budget. We're working with our own money, and sometimes it's not possible. It's really expensive. It's really expensive to travel. It's really expensive to fund your own projects. It's a lot, and there's a lot of moving pieces. So it's taking time to budget everything, and like we're breaking everything down. Food expenses, typically renting a car, and then it's gas, and it's the airfare, it's the Airbnb, everything like that. Obviously, all of that needs to be looked at all together. And then in terms of these different locations, in terms of location scouting from afar, I'm watching videos on people's blogs. I'm watching All Trails, the app, every single day to see what people are posting about the trails, about the conditions of the trails, photos that they've updated day to day, so I can keep track of what the flower blooms look like, just the state of the location as it changes day to day. Because when we're working with things like flowers and flower blooms, we can't predict what they're going to look like. We can't predict the weather. We can't predict whether that bloom is at its peak that day. So it's really just, part of it is a gamble, and part of it is just like keeping an eye all the time on what's going on.
Yeah,
like, oops, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say props to you guys for that, because I know that takes a lot of time and energy.
Yes, researching, Emily does so. That's why it's a huge piece. She is like the research and the brain that I can't handle, but like just making sure like logistically also like the weather for sure, like the day of when we're there, like I'm always like consistent. Is it going to be windy? Like you have to look at those things to make sure like, oh, can we have a light on this shoot? Or can we use a reflector? Is the reflector going to blow away? Like those are things that are very, very important. And like checking to see if there's poison oak, you know, checking to see those things that it's just a lot of logistical things where that, you know, Emily is really good at doing. And then like the days that we're on, I'll double check. And sometimes I'm like, oh, it's going to be too windy. And then like, you know, it doesn't end up being like too crazy. But it's just like specific things like that can create like, you know, it puts everything together. And that's what a day-to-day looks like with whenever we do something together as a collaborative.
Yeah, that's amazing. Speaking of shoots, now that you guys mentioned that one, I have to bring up one of my favorites of your guys's, which I really like, the Dune Traveler photo shoot. So could you guys kind of tell me a little bit of like where that was shot and like what inspired that concept?
Sure. I shot that back in, I think, 2022. And actually, Emily wasn't available that day. And I think Emily texted a model and was like, I think this girl would be perfect. And actually, we've never met this model before, and we picked her up. She's one of the most amazing. We're like best friends now too. Like she's incredible. Emma Carla Pete. Emily found her randomly online.
I forgot that was the origin. You were telling this, I was like, well, oh yeah.
Yeah, you were a part of it. It's like she knew. It's like she knew.
Okay. Continue. That's so funny.
I think you were busy that day, but we wanted you to shoot something, but it was a very last minute change, I think. And so we got up really early, I think, at Kelso Dunes. I don't know if you researched, I think Joellen, Firefly Paddle.
Joellen, yeah.
That was all her that found that location. She was like, it's 3 hours away. It's really close to Vegas. And actually, I think before then, I think we scouted that area. We drove all the way there and we're like, okay, we're an hour from Vegas. Like we went to Vegas, but we scouted and we actually walked all the way up. And as somebody who never works out, getting up there was very hard, but it was also so beautiful. It looked like a iMac desktop. Like it was just so incredible. And so we were like, oh, no one's going to believe how stunning this shoot's going to be. And so like logistically too, like how cold it is going to be. And I think that day it was also cloudy, so we were like, oh, maybe it'll be this cold. And so the next time it wasn't as like crazy cold, but when the sun came down, it was cold. But it was just in Kelso Dunes, like, and then we hiked up on the tippy top and shot some. I think you said the Dune Traveler is the one with the lightsaber, right? That's the favorite one. I think that one was like in the beginning before we hiked up. But yeah, it was a very easy shoot, I feel like, in that first part. But part 2 of Dune Princess was like the hardest part. Getting up there and hiking is like not my thing, but like it was so worth it. So one of my favorite shoots. I feel like that was the shoot. That one and Idlewild were the 2 shoots that really made me so much more happier with my work in general.
That's great.
So.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes. Yeah, it was really, really pretty piece. Now, a little bit more on the fun side. If there was any, for both of you guys, if there's anyone you could shoot, like an artist or like an album cover, because honestly, like with your guys' work, I really feel like a cool album cover would be for like Lana Del Rey or SZA. Like I feel like they would match that aesthetic that you guys bring. Like who would your guys' dream client be?
Oh,
Emily,
I know.
Come on.
Yeah.
Aurora.
100%.
Aurora.
100%. That would be the dream.
That's amazing.
That or Enya.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's
a good one.
That's lovely. Now, who or what inspires your storytelling when you do like when you're designing like this visual world of a shoot?
I'm like thinking about. I'll let Emily go because I have so much thoughts. My thoughts are everywhere.
I mean, it totally varies. I think for both of us, pre-Raphaelite art, that's huge for us. We both love that. We're both very inspired by just like very classic fairy tales and mythology. Honestly, it's a lot of classical art, just a lot of paintings, old movies. I know,
Oh.
yeah, right now, Elizabeth, do you want to talk about your Technicolor stuff?
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. I guess that one brought up Medieval Princess. Technicolor was like one of my inspirations towards Medieval Princess, and like I wanted to mix the two worlds of 50s and like ethereal together, and so that was like something I was like, I kind of want to do something different. I know I shot this hen and hat, but I'm like, I also just want to like, I love this other movie and this movie, like two movies. There's like a few movies that were inspired by that set, but like kind of intertwining like old films is something that I enjoy. There's also another thing that we're working on that's from a old film as well. So like, you know, that's what's really inspiring, is to keep us connected, is just like old paintings and films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Now, kind of wrapping up a little bit, I have to ask this because a lot of people are interested in photography and kind of want to get into it, especially like on the modeling side of it. So for both of you, like what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who's like either starting out in photography, like modeling, or art direction?
I would say don't be afraid to try new things. I think try it out, and it's okay to like try a style that you may or may not like, or may like, or if you like a certain style, I think it's okay to practice and be a student and you're learning. I think that's something that you shouldn't be afraid of, because I that's what I did. So
Yeah. Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to be bad at something. We all have to be bad at it to become good at it, and that takes a lot of vulnerability. So it's not an easy thing, but you just have to be consistent and do your best to just keep going forward. Try things. It's not always going to work. That's okay. That's like a huge part of the whole process. And that's just going to kind of continue to happen. You'll try things and they won't work, and then you'll try things and they really do work. So yeah, I would just say, just go for it. And have fun.
Well, that's really great advice, and I love that. Well, it's been amazing speaking with you, Elizabeth and Emily. I can't wait to see what you guys do with E&E Creative. Especially, I really love that medieval princess shoot that you guys did, and I'm glad that you brought it up. But yeah, I hope that your work continues to flourish and you keep getting the opportunities that you dream of. This has been Behind the Niche with Elizabeth Elder and Emily Odette.